Good morning, cosplayers! Welcome back to Gadgets and Gizmos, where I talk about all of my favorite cosplay tools. Today we're talking about the heat gun. I feel like a super spy. The one I have is called a Fat Max, and it goes up to 1,500 watts. Whether you're a seasoned pro or you're just learning on how to wield your weapons, we're gonna learn together. Before we jump into the details, don't forget to hit that subscribe button or follow wherever you're watching it. Now, heat guns are especially warm, so you don't want to touch the nozzle. Once you get it going and everything, it'll heat up very, very, very fast. And if you're not used to using heat tools in general, you can purchase gloves to help you with manipulating the other materials when they're already piping hot. Personally, I have no feeling in my hands anymore, so I can use my heat gun with something and then manipulate it right away because I don't have feelings. I have learned how to use my temperature gauge so that I can just manipulate things to the point of where I can physically deal with it. Also, when working with any crafting material, you want to have a well-ventilated area, which this is not the best ventilated area. Depending on what you're working on, you might want safety goggles and a safety mask, especially when it comes to a foam and its burning qualities. When foam actually heats up past a certain point, it puts fumes into the air. Working in a well-ventilated area will help with proper airflow and decrease the amount of fumes in the air. And safety glasses are just there, in case something goes awry. Plus, these just look really fancy. Now that we got that covered, let's talk about the gun itself. A versatile tool that is used to easily manipulate all kinds of different materials, like foam, Worbla, thermoplastics of all kinds, even fabric. Mine actually has two different settings. It has a low setting and a high setting. There is also a turn dial on the side which allows you to control the temperature. So if you really gotta turn up the heat, you can. It's a lower setting so you don't hurt yourself. As you work with your heat gun and your temperature gauge, you'll experiment around and you'll find the right setting that works for you. This one actually came with a whole bunch of different nozzles that are used for different things. Now, we're cosplayers, so we are used to using our tools for cosplay purposes, but this is a power tool and it's usually used for other things that are not to do with cosplay at all, which I find rather hilarious, like paint stripping or sealing things that are outside of cosplay. So that comes with all these other little attachments. I personally have only used the attachments maybe twice in my life. As you can see, there's like a beautiful array of them here. And at first, I was confused on how to get them on and off because the tip of the heat gun looks like a screwdriver. So I was thinking that you had to screw things on and off. That is incorrect. What you need to do is they just slip on. they just pop on to the top. So depending on what you're doing, what you need it for, the adjustable tips all help with changing the airflow. There's some little curved ones, so you can really kind of bounce the heat where you need it to be. Or attachments like this, you can really control a direct line of heat and air exactly where you want it to go. Now that we've discussed all the random little fun gadgets that come along with our heat gun, let's get into what we're gonna actually use it for. When you've been cosplaying as long as I have, you have gotten your hands into a whole bunch of different types of materials. The first material that most cosplayers use is foam. Back in my day, oh god, I sound like a dinosaur. It didn't exist, hear me out. Back in the day, it was really hard, especially in my town, to order any kind of just flat, pre-cut roll of foam. And so you would go to Canadian Tire, where they had all of those mats. These are foam mats, and people have used this for years. Because when it comes to your heat gun, it is wonderful for shaping and sealing. But you can really tell the difference. You see how it's already curved everything? We're just doing a little test, but you see how with the heat gun it's actually helped it change that shape? It actually changes the texture, the outside texture, by sealing things back in. There's some types of foam out there that cannot really do heat, or, I mean, you can use it, but it will react differently. Case in point, this kind of stuff. I don't know the proper name for this type of foam, but it's some form of insulation. As you can see from the heat knife, when you apply heat, it actually melts it. So, but you see how it's actually just completely melted? If you use it that way, it's not the way to go on this kind of foam. That leads me to my favorite. Another material I obviously love because I use it all the time is Warblug. It's a thermoplastic that you can heat up and shape however you want. But if you heat Warblug too much, you will get bubbles. But I mean, obviously, as you can see, it makes it very flexible. On a low setting, you can use your heat gun to seal the edge of synthetic fabrics. I still think a lighter works a little bit better and faster, personally. But you can also use your heat gun to do any kind of weathering to fabrics that you need to do. Remember to practice on scrap materials first so you know how it reacts to what you're doing, because the worst thing would be is to use your heat gun at too high a heat and accidentally destroy everything you've been working on. So remember, always test it out first, and always safety first. I say without my mask. Listen kids, do what I say, not what I do. If you found this video helpful, give it a like. Don't forget to let me know if you have any tips and tricks on how to use your heat gun in the comments. As always, I'm Ray Gray. Happy crafting and stay inspired!